Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special design interview with me, Michael Nash, and Head of Exterior Design at Mercedes-Benz, Robert Lesnik. Thank you for joining me, Robert.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for having me here.
How you doing? How's your day going?
Good. Yeah, I think this is the last meeting that I have today. So it's Friday now, and it's been a busy week. So we still have some cars that we have to design in the future. But now it's good that weekend is on horizon.
Yeah, sorry for keeping you late on a Friday. We won't keep you for too long, hopefully. So before we get into it, Robert, I just want to give our audience a brief summary on your career to date. So after you graduated from university, you landed a job at Volkswagen and stayed there for 9 years. And you gradually worked your way up to become the exterior design team leader. And you were involved heavily in the design of some very notable models, you know, the Passat and the Scirocco. And then in 2007, you moved to Kia, where you spent 2 years as exterior design manager. And then you were snapped up by Mercedes, it seems. And you spent the past 9 years at Mercedes heading the exterior design department. And you've put your stamp on a long list of really key and notable models, which I'm sure we'll get into. But before we do, let's go back to the very start. So you were born in 1971 in Maribor in Slovenia. I hope I pronounced that correct.
That's right. Yeah.
Great. Right. And that's like the second largest city, I think, in Slovenia.
It's still very small, yeah, but you're right, second largest. Right?
Still small. Okay. So I just wonder what it was like growing up there, and you know, where did your passion and care for cars and creativity and car design start?
I think this was quite an interesting time. Actually, I got in touch with cars in my father's garage because he was repairing cars. Yeah? And at that time, I would say 70s, 80s, that was still, my country was still called Yugoslavia, yeah? And now it's Slovenia. But at that time, everything was quite different. So we had, let's say, or my father was repairing cars that obviously were there at that time. And of course, there was also here and there a Mercedes. We didn't own Mercedes, but mainly there were other, I would say, I don't know, French cars, Renault 4 or a 2CV Citroën. Maybe you remember the car, or a Buck, you know, from Volkswagen. Those cars were kind of, let's say, guests in my father's garage. Yeah.
Well, they're pretty iconic cars. I can imagine you as
Definitely.
I can imagine you as a young boy, sort of seeing these models. I mean, for me, when I think of those models, I think of like a bygone era, and it's, you know, some would say, I think that it's design at its very best in terms of cars. So I can imagine that sort of being quite exciting to be around in your father's garage.
Yeah, I mean, at that time I was still young, of course. As I was also, I must say, when I was maybe, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, then I obviously had a bike, yeah, motorcycle, and so on, where I was working on it, of course, or tuning this little combustion engine, you know, and also working a little bit, or got in touch with those cars that I just mentioned. But exactly, I must admit, when I turned 18 at the same day, um, I got the driving license, or I passed the test. So at the same time, then I was able to drive, and my first car was a Yugo. So that was also, I would say, that time quite famous car, also from negative point of view in terms of quality, but it was mine, you know. So it was mine, and this is, I would say, huge difference to if I see my son now. He is now 18, yeah, and he also got driving license now half a year ago, and he's really not into the cars anymore, yeah. So really, many things changed in last decades. But still, it was a very interesting time. Yeah, of course.
That's incredible. So, what were the steps then from, I guess, like tinkering with a small petrol engine and getting your first car to going to university and studying car design?
If I'm honest, at that time, it's hard to imagine, but there was no internet. So it was very hard to get any kind of information. Yeah. So it was really like just driving to now biggest city in Slovenia, which is Ljubljana. Yeah. I mean, Slovenia itself is not that big. It's a quite tiny country with 2 million people. So just to drive there to capital city, it was like 135 kilometers. Yeah, that was really far away. Yeah? And when I finished machine building school, then I wanted to do something with design. And as I said, there were no information. And the only information that I got is that there was a university in the capital city for industrial design. Of course, nothing with car design, obviously, but I really I was trying to get in there, and I couldn't pass the test. I did this for 3 times, yeah, so 3 times in a row, and for the fourth time, I just said, okay, it does not make any sense, so I have to really look further, more than 135 kilometers away from my father's house. So I really I had a chance that I met somebody who knew somebody who, that was very interesting, had exactly the same position at Mercedes that I have now. That guy was, he is already retired, and he unfortunately passed away. But at that time, that was beginning of 90s, he had exactly the same position, the director of exterior design at Mercedes. And I wrote him a letter, again, no email, yeah. So I wrote him a letter, and he answered the letter, and he said, not far away from Stuttgart is Pforzheim. It's a half an hour drive, and I'm a professor there, and yeah, your work is quite good and interesting, and you should apply there. And I applied, and they took me. So that was, I would say, the beginning of my career as a car designer.
That's amazing. So you had like this affinity for Mercedes, like straight from the off, with the help from the professor there. I wonder, just like speaking of that time, and you mentioned like writing letters and information was quite hard to come by. I wonder if you could imagine, you know, design back then versus design back now. Designers have a wealth of information at their fingertips with the internet, and you have many forms of communication open to you. And do you think that this is like a benefit or a hindrance? If and when you look back at those times when you didn't have the internet and you were writing letters to professors, do you look back with fondness on that?
No, and it's always, I think, with all things in life, there are certain benefits and, of course, certain disadvantages, obviously. Yeah. So now I would say is so much information that is really, it's too much. Yeah, everybody can get information in a second. Yeah, about everything. Yeah, doesn't mean that is really truth. The truth. Yeah, that what you can really see, and it's easy to get that kind of information. But at that time, everything was, I had a feeling, much smaller. Yeah, it was for me when I was driving, actually with my father to the test that I had at the school, at the university. That was for me the first time to visit Germany. Yeah. So now, it's very easy to I don't know, to have a holiday, to go, I don't know, on a different continent. Yeah? So everything is obviously completely different. But in terms of car design, I think the most important thing didn't change, and this is what I personally believe, and what we here at this company believe, is the beauty. Yeah, it's to create a desirable object. In this case, a car. Yeah, it's not just something that you would not care. I personally believe that people do. Maybe my son not, yeah, but I still believe this will still take a long time. When we will have our, let's say, it's not only a customer, it's a fan, yeah. You really want to maybe own this type of car, or really you admire it. Maybe you cannot afford it, but you admire it, yeah. And just by seeing it passing by or driving by. And I remember when I was also a young kid, and I had for the first time I had a look at, or I saw the Mercedes SL at that time. I think it was R129. Yeah, that's very beautiful car. It was actually from Austria, so a license plate from Austria, my hometown Maribor. And I was just standing there for maybe 10-15 minutes, and I was looking at the tapering of the rear end and so on and so on. Yeah. And that I remembered, and I don't know, decades after that, when I had a chance to start here at Mercedes, I was discussing with my steel boss, Gordon Wagner, about the design, how to design the rear end of a Mercedes. Yeah, and I said, he said, yeah, it should be white. And I said, no, I think it should not be white, because that car that I remember 30 years ago, it was white where the axle is, but then it tapered a lot. Yeah, and also other Mercedes from 90s, if you remember 190, it had really like the plan shape that's from the rear axle really tapered a lot. Yeah, and then I said, yeah, but this is kind of, really you have a lot of width, but you don't show it because you don't need to, because you're Mercedes. Yeah, you have a coupe that is, or GT, whatever. Yeah, AMG, other cars that we have, and if you look at our coupes on the road now, they are done in the same way. Yeah? So at a certain at that point, I had to kind of convince my boss, yeah, that it's good if we stick to that. Yeah? So these are little things that, of course, I was influenced by, and at the end, I still use, because I believe that this is how Mercedes should be. Beauty first.
So interesting how such a early influence can still have such a big bearing on the impact of the design of a car. So just let's hone in on I guess first your university days. Do you remember anything from university that perhaps a certain challenge you faced, or a certain brief that you had that was extremely influential on the direction that you started to take as a designer?
In the beginning, of course, really don't know what you can do, what others can do. How good you are in term. How can you compare with other guys? Because at the end, as I said, there was no tutorial at YouTube. Yeah, how to drive or sketch a car. No, now there are tons of such things out there. Yeah, but back then, I just didn't know where to get markers. Yeah, and we were doing renderings. Big 1 meter big sketches. Renderings on vellum called paper. Yeah, stuff like this. It's just not necessary anymore because you can do it in Photoshop. Yeah, easy. Yeah, um, and and then when I started, when I came to Pforzheim, in the beginning, I really saw that, hey, I'm not that bad, yeah, in compared to other guys. So actually, I was giving them lessons how to sketch a car. Yeah? It was interesting. It was a very small semester, like 8 people only. Yeah, and we were very international. Yeah? They were from, I don't know, different countries, and it was very good time. But in the beginning, you don't know where you are. Yeah, it's very hard to compare yourself. But as I said, quite fast. I'm honest. After 3 months, I got an internship from Volkswagen. Yeah. So at the first day when I started in Pforzheim, I sent sketches to different companies, and the first one who answered was Volkswagen. They invited me to Wolfsburg, so obviously I had to not Google, because at that time there was no Google, but I had to go to a gas station and buy a map of Germany. Yeah. So okay, I have to drive now for 7 hours from I don't know, Stuttgart to Wolfsburg. Where is Wolfsburg? Yeah, somewhere in north. Yeah. And then without navigation and so on, yeah, then you go there, and I went there, and then I had an interview, and they thought that, as I said, I just started in the first semester, and they thought I'm in the fifth, and I'm looking for the internship for the sixth semester. And I said, "Oh, no, I'm just starting now." And I said, "Come on, forget it. This cannot do an internship here." Okay, thank you. And next day they called me and I said, "Okay, we changed our mind. You can come." And then I came, and I was there for summer break. And then the result was they gave me a scholarship, and that was something I think still amazing, because we are not doing now such things like this. We don't really sponsor or pay 4 years of university for a student. We don't do this, yeah. But at that time, I got it. So obviously, my parents were very happy. So no financial problems from that time on, yeah. And at the end, I had also a contract in my pocket. So it was quite a good beginning, I have to admit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful beginning, and yeah, I imagine that was must have come quite a shock when you had that phone call the next day. So you were at Volkswagen for 9 years then, and like I said in the introduction, you sort of were heavily involved in a number of notable models. I wonder if there's a couple of sort of key highlights that you can pick out, maybe things or people that you worked with that sort of had an influence on you.
Of course. I mean, at Volkswagen, I met my current boss, Gordon Wagner, you know, just one example, yeah, or all other guys who are in charge now at different companies we were working with, you know, Andreas Mint, now head of Volkswagen Design, or Thomas Ingenlath at Polestar, or Mark Lichte at Audi, and so on and so on. Actually, everybody, I had a feeling, who is in charge of car design in the moment, was there at that time. I had a feeling, yeah. And I had also opportunity to work in studios that they had in California, for example, Santa Monica at that time still, yeah, and also in Spain, Sitges, close to Barcelona. And it's interesting, you know, the guy who is running our studio now at in Nice, in France. We have a advanced studio there. Is the guy that I met there, you know, at that time. Yeah, so it's a very small world at the end. Yeah.
And then after Volkswagen, did you have this like pull from Mr. Wagner and Mercedes already, or because you did spend a little bit of time at Kia?
Right. It was interesting that I actually had an interview here at Mercedes. Actually, I had two. Yeah, the first one was not didn't go that well. Um, at that time, Gordon Wagner was in California studio, so I had an interview with somebody else and didn't go that well. But okay, at the end, no problem. So I went to Kia, to brand new studio here in Frankfurt, which was also a very good experience. So I had also a chance to go travel very often to Asia, to Korea, and it's always good, I think, as a designer, you know, to see new things, yeah, to travel and meet other people, other cultures, and just understand how Asian people look at that time that particular car that we were working on, yeah, and that was very valuable still, I think, yeah. I mean, we are also working on cars that are very popular in Asia, yeah. I mean, it's a big market, China and so on, and also Korea is a very important market, and that was definitely good, but yeah, it was just let's say 2 year stop, because then Gordon Wagner took over here he became a head of design, and yeah, and then the second interview that I had went better. Let's say it was better, yeah. So at the end, yeah, in year 2009 or beginning of 2009, yeah, I started here.
Yeah, and in 2009 in Stuttgart, yeah, in 2009 you started pretty senior, right? But not in Obviously
No,
not in your
it was
job.
just let's say a manager, kind of a team leader. Yeah, but yeah, it was good for start. Yeah.
And then it only took you a couple of years, right, to get to
Right.
head of exterior.
Exactly. Right. I mean, at that time there were also, let's say, in design, car design, always something is on the move. It's people come, people go, and new boss, new taste, and so on and so on. And yeah, I really had a chance, say, to be at the right time here at Mercedes, where I would say, we really reinvented the whole perception of the brand. At that time, I must admit, when I started after university, when I graduated, uh, let's say I had a certain amount of money that I was willing to spend on a car, and I bought actually Alfa Romeo 156 sport wagon. Yeah, I didn't buy at that time a Volkswagen, or I didn't even think about buying a C-Class. Yeah, but everything changed. So today, I mean, our C-Class is cool car, is also sporty looking. We even have a coupe. We even have AMG cars like 63. Really, really nice car, especially if you don't have a family and kids. Yeah. Um, and at that time, there was just nothing similar here at Mercedes. But I saw a challenge. Maybe I'm also able a little bit to change this. And yeah, in the first year, with Gordon, and obviously with other guys here as well, as a team, we spent almost 1 year by creating a new design philosophy that we still work to. And we still believe there's a lot of potential in essential purity. Yeah, this is something we believe very, very typical for this brand, for Mercedes. And yeah, I was just here from, I would say, day one. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about essential purity next, so there we go. Perfect question list order, I think. Um, so when you think about the design philosophy that you've sort of embedded into Mercedes exterior, could you talk about maybe the the evolution that you mentioned there in a bit more detail, and the progress that you've made over the years? I guess specifically, uh, I I think maybe even in recent years, the past maybe 5 years or so, could you talk about maybe a progression?
You know, um, in year 2009, Mercedes cars, maybe you would remember, E-Class, the boxy one, yeah, it's called W212. They look completely different to that what we have on the road today. And of course, they were done at different time by different people and so on. Yeah, so they were okay, good, yeah, but as I said, not really my taste. But then um, we really looked also in the past, and there were so many cars, that this company had. Yeah, so many beautiful cars, so many cars with really nice and sensual surfacing. I don't know, just 300 SL Gullwing. Yeah, I mean, the sport car of the century. Yeah, everybody likes it. Yeah, but if you just go around and look how everything is done, it's from the 50s. And everything is very round and sensual. Yeah, and we said, okay, so maybe the Mercedes should not be as boxy as E-Class at that time, but maybe we try maybe to stick to that what always was there. And it's at the end always is a combination of emotion and intelligence. Yeah, I mean, intelligence was always there. We always had the best radars, and now even level 3, only 2 cars in the world, S-Class and EQS. Yeah, um, and but we believed at that time maybe there was a little bit of emotion lacking. Yeah, our cars at that time, and that what we really infused, I believe, in next years. And everything started then in 2000. Yeah, it takes us still some 4 years to develop a car. So I started 2009, and then plus 4 years. So 4 years later, um, 2013, we introduced the S-Class, yeah? The V222 at that time. And that was kind of the beginning, and also the A-Class at that time. It was also a complete game changer. And then kind of, I had a feeling every 6 months we introduced, I don't know, S-Class coupe. Then we had a GT in 2014. Yeah, AMG GT. I would still say one of the most beautiful cars that we have ever done. And then so on and so on. And now we are, I don't know, my feeling probably tells me 50 cars later. Yeah. And we still see so much potential in that what we have. And we see also in the market out there that there are also some other companies going a little bit in this direction, maybe taking out the edges and making it less aggressive. Yeah. I personally always believed Mercedes is never aggressive. Standing in front of the car, you shouldn't really not be afraid of that car. Yeah. So it's kind of more human touch, so it's round surfacing, so you want to touch it. Yeah. And you don't want to really touch a sharp edge because you would probably I don't know, get hurt or whatever. Yeah. So it's just inspired by nature. It's something that I believe was always there. Mercedes was never aggressive, and that works okay. That works good. Recent cars, or let's say new cars that are on the market now. I mean, I must say, old cars, yeah, that we have done some years ago, are very successful. Yeah. So, uh, and the most important thing is that we still see a lot of potential in that. Our call it's the style of our house. Yeah. At the end, it's very important that Mercedes always was a luxury brand. And there's nothing new. This was always like this. Yeah? And the thing is that this is not something that you just write down and say, okay, this is our new strategy. We want to become a luxury brand, or premium, whatever. It's honest. People believe you and say, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, you saw maybe last year the most expensive car in the world, Mercedes SLR or something like this, was sold. Yeah. And it was so much more expensive that by that time the most expensive car, I don't know, Ferrari, yeah, GTO, that was amazing. Yeah. And people would just not pay that crazy amount of money if they would not believe that this is the value of that car. Yeah. So I think this is very important, or this is also a huge difference to certain other companies that are just one of many, and there's so much same stuff out there. As I said before, yeah, you can get all the information and Google certain cars, and everything looks kind of the same. Yeah, but we believe the luxury brands, they have their own aesthetic soul. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Also in the fashion industry, yeah, I don't know if you have everybody probably would immediately recognize a Burberry pattern. Yeah, you see 5 of them, and you will say, oh, this one is the Burberry, right? Yeah, but you can still play with it. You can make it also in pink or in whatever, and this is something that you call extraordinary. Something. It's always, it's the beauty on one side, and on the other side is something extraordinary or X factor. Yeah, something that you haven't seen before. Something. Oh, they combined the pattern that we know for 100 years with, I don't know, as I said, pink, yeah, or purple, whatever, yeah. And this is at the end that what is important for us. It's not just beauty. Beauty could become boring after time if everything is just beautiful, yeah. So it has to be here and there. I'm sure you remember this so-called diamond grill that we introduced some 10 years ago. Yeah, diamond grill with this little. Uh, um, this is a hot stamping in the front. It's at that time new technology that we started on A-Class. Yeah, and now if you look at outside, there's so many companies out there. They use the same. Yeah, they use the same. Yeah? So these are little things that we call X factor, and yeah, you will see also next year's there will be also cars with X factors.
Fantastic. I like the little preview there, Robert. So I guess just picking up on a couple of those points, one of the things I think which is quite fascinating is, you know, this idea which is it's seemingly been with you throughout your entire, you know, life and career as a designer, this need to create a connection with the vehicle and particularly an emotional connection. And I guess I wonder how you balance that with other important challenges that are, you know, have been around for a long time. They're nothing new. So, you know, we have obviously CO2 targets and sustainability. So with electrification, that in itself holds challenges for exterior design. And then, you know, we have, you know, autonomous driving solutions with you know, all sorts of cameras splayed all over the vehicle, and then maybe also digitalization. It's perhaps might not be such a massive influence on the exterior part of the car, but it can be in certain ways. We've seen a few crazy kooky concepts out there from various startups and things using sort of, you know, smart messages around the exterior of the car. So I just wonder how you keep this emotional connection whilst juggling all these different challenges as well. It must be such a hard balance to maintain.
Yeah, but I think this is exactly what makes this job so interesting. Yeah, I remember when I was at university in Pforzheim, and there were also other uh, uh, directions. People were studying industrial design or jewelry or graphic design or fashion and so on. And there was that what I was doing, transportation design, and all other guys said to me or to us, "Hey, you poor guys, you can only do cars." Yeah, but I'm still, after, I don't know, 20 years in that business or even more, I'm not bored. Because it's always something coming up. It's always something coming up because it's. I believe it will always be an emotional product. And we are really far away from that so-called, let's say, autonomous driving pods, yeah, that you would just order and you don't care which car picks you up, and then you only look at your smartphone and then get in, get out, and then you would ask people, so which car was this? Oh, I didn't even look at it. Yeah, I think this is maybe future. I don't know, but not this. Maybe could be, let's say, distant future. Yeah. So everything at the end is still is about emotion. Is to have a desirable product, and especially if you're talking about luxury. Yeah, people do care. People really do care what they want to own or what they want to use. Yeah, and this is, I think, always you have to kind of have something attractive, yeah? Something that attract people, yeah. And you have to find a balance. You have to obviously find a balance to that past that you have, to the heritage. We are not doing retro designs. We are not doing same cars that we had, I don't know, 50 years ago. Yeah, they are modern. They are full of sensors. They have lidars. They have radars. So many. I always say, if you take off the front bumper, you would be amazed how much sensors there are below the skin. Yeah, and they were there for long time. Yeah, we had the radar. We came up, I don't know, decades ago with that star where the radar is behind. Yeah, and this is seamless, two-dimensional seamless star that was there. I don't know, 20 years ago at that time on the S class. And that technology looks like it's a chrome, but it's not. It's like indium. Yeah, otherwise the chrome, no radar ray would go through. Yeah, so that was, as I said, it's emotion and intelligence. Yeah, so that was always there. Yeah, that intelligence was always there. That the tech was always there. Yeah, it's always aesthetics and tech. So we have so many new things that we can work with. Yeah, that you might even say, oh, there are so many limitations. But I personally, since I'm not, let's say, we also have here guys who are working on advanced design. They're looking, let's say, in a distant future. But I'm working with my team on production cars. Yeah, they have to be producible. Yeah, and we have to be able to build them and sell them. Yeah, and they have to be safe. Yeah, and they have to have the best digital light that people would expect from a car like this. Yeah, or from a luxury car like this. And all this new technology was always there, for this company. And often we started, in upper classes with S class, and then 2-3 years later, even in A class, it was similar thing available. Yeah. So this is something that I think really keeps this job fresh. Yeah. And we are obviously working now on cars that are going to enter the market by the end of the decade. Yeah. And we communicated that from year 25 on, every new architecture that it will introduce will be electric only. Yeah. So obviously now you're dealing, with after decades of combustion engine proportions and big engines, we still have a 12-cylinder, in the S class. Yeah. Amazing, I believe. Yeah. And now we're working on new cars with that, let's say, give us a chance to, together with engineers, the new technology give us the chance to try out something new, something that you can do if there is no big combustion engine anymore, just for example. Yeah. So suddenly you are really doing something completely new, something that was just not there 10 years from now. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward what will happen in the next 5 years. But I'm really not bored. I'm definitely not bored after all those years. And my wife sometimes asks me, "So what did you do today?" Yeah, we moved a line a little bit. Oh, so you really earned your money, yeah? But of course, we didn't only move the line on a car, yeah. It's very very interesting time, because I believe if everybody, every whole world is now in a decade of changes, yeah, and everything is changing. The changes are happening very fast, yeah, and amazing stuff. Just with Corona, it's incredible. I mean, we're having now a meeting. I mean, we're using Teams or Skype or whatever, yeah, and it was just a few years ago. We would just say, doesn't work anywhere anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The world is changing all the time, and I can imagine, even though I think your wife maybe did you slight disservice there, Robert. I think the work of a designer is extremely hard and incredibly challenging. I wonder if you were to have like a dream brief, if something, you were basically allowed to run riot when you when you took hold of a design brief, what would that look like to you?
You mean a car? You mean talking about, or?
I mean, any kind of vehicle. What would your sort of dream assignment be, I guess?
There are many designers there. If you ask them, well, what do you really like? What do you want to work on? A sport car. I mean, we also had a chance to work on Project One. AMG One, amazing car. With all those active aerodynamics. But at the end, it was for me just another clay model. When we were working on it, of course, if I maybe a little bit more difficult in terms of downforce and so on and so on. Yeah, but it was, I would say, not more interesting than working on probably the hardest task for the designer, to do a nice looking sedan. Yeah, as boring as it sounds, it probably sedan is the most difficult car to um, in terms of proportion. Yeah, because it's really like, space inside should not be. It's not a coupe. People expect certain space inside. Yeah, they want to put, I don't know, 2 or 3 big suitcases in the trunk. Yeah, and the roof should not be too low, and the car should not be too wide. Yeah, so that means you do really have a lot of shoulders and a lot of we say um, real estate where we can build on. It's always easier to do AMG GT or SL and so on. It's always kind of easier, yeah, because there are so many things that everybody's really ready to, let's say, or is willing to accept as a compromise. So yeah, it's a little bit tighter. Yeah, of course. Yeah, inside it's a little bit smaller. So this the side outside is not that good. Yeah, but it's a pure emotion. So it's kind of easier, to convince people to get certain things. Yeah, but I must say that I'm not really dreaming about anything special because I really had the chance, especially with this company here, because I believe that there are not that many companies out there who would have that variety in their portfolio. I just mentioned the SL as also as an icon. It was also a very interesting time to work on a car like this. Yeah? Or on the other side of the portfolio, have a G-Wagon. Just as simple as this, a G-Wagon. Come on, this is a really iconic design, for more than 40 years there. And I was working on the current one, and I mean, how often you get a chance as a designer in your lifetime to work on a new G-Wagon? Not that often, yeah. So, or let's say a car like a G-Wagon, yeah. So there are so many cool cars here. As I mentioned in Project One, yeah, it was like probably one and only, we'll never ever do a car like this, probably, yeah, as complex as this, yeah, technically complex. So I really I was lucky to work on almost everything, yeah. So I really, I see a lot of, let's say, always a lot of challenges and also fun in every new project that is coming up. Yeah, so I'm really fighting for every car that we have on our studio now as a clay model or data model, and I don't really care what type of car this is. Yeah, so it's every car is different. Yeah, it's for different type of customer, obviously. Yeah, and is as important as others are.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. Um, I wonder. I think you've probably touched on a few points there, Robert. But maybe instead of certain models and certain projects that you've worked on, I guess I wonder what makes your heart rate go up as a designer. What makes you excited? Are there certain sort of points of the design process that make you particularly excited, or are there
You
certain
know,
things that you need to address that make you excited?
I have to admit that it's really a challenge, how to solve certain problems. I think this is something that always makes, because it's never the same. I have a feeling, we're doing, we have our development process here at Mercedes, like other companies have, yeah. So we know exactly from now, I don't know, in 2 years, and on 24th of June, we have to deliver Class A data. Yeah, that's why I'm also responsible for. Yeah, and then the tooling we will build and production will start 2 years later, and so on. Yeah, so everything is really, we write it down. We know for next year's what we do. Yeah, it's kind of probably German style. I mean, I'm very familiar with this where I come from. As I said, Slovenia, it was close to Austrian border, so um, it was not really for me completely different mindset and different culture. So I can deal with this, no problem. Yeah? But I can only also deal with problems, let's say, and challenges, yeah, that are always coming up, yeah, and and this pedestrian protection on all cars. If I remember I don't know, 15 years ago when that was just not there. And then suddenly all OEMs got information. Yeah, you have to do this in the foreseeable future, and then um, and then nobody had a solution for it. So they said, okay, we just have to raise the front bonnet. So by, I don't know, by 80 millimeters. Yeah. So, and they, at that time where I was other company, we did a model and it looks awful. Yeah. It didn't look like a normal car. So it was just too heavy and big in the front. And yeah, but we will need it. No, we won't. yes, this is how the regulation is. Try to save life. Yeah, we would hit, I don't know, pedestrian. But and then so many intelligent people came up with so many intelligent solutions. Yeah, you have an active bonnets in the front. Yeah, you have it's so many sensors. You know that break the car before you hit somebody or something. Yeah, and so many things had to be developed. Yeah, because there was something that influenced something, and this is happening all the time. I think in this industry. And also now, as we say that we are in the middle of transformation, and but the end 39 we want to be completely CO2 neutral anyway. And by the end of the decade, which is uh, in my eyes tomorrow, yeah. As I said, we're working on cars that will enter the market by the end of the decade. So by the end of the decade, we want to be want to go full electric in the markets where they allow, yeah. Where this is, let's say, when this is possible. Yeah. So in major markets, this will be possible, and we will have electric cars in every segment. Yeah. So this is a huge change, and also, of course, you have certain, let's say, certain freedom that maybe you didn't have before. Yeah. As I said before, if there's no big combustion engine, then obviously you can do something else. But there are also difficulties. Yeah? The cars are very heavy, yeah, because the batteries are heavy, yeah, the batteries are high, yeah, and that means, you know, if you want to sit in the car, then the cross section of the car will be bigger, and this is not good for efficiency. Yeah, we know, you know, that the drag coefficient, and we have some of more most aerodynamic cars in the market in the moment, and even had before. Yeah, this again nothing new for Mercedes. Yeah, if you look almost every decade, one of the most aerodynamic cars was a Mercedes. Yeah? So at the end, you know, you have to find a kind of a compromise. The cabin inside, certain comfort that people expect from a Mercedes, still big battery, but certain kilowatt hours. Yeah, so that you want to have want to have a certain or expect a certain range, obviously, yeah, from this brand. And at the end, also aerodynamics. So these are things that just don't match, and at the end, you still have to find a solution for it.
All these challenges and problems. I don't know how you do it, Robert. I don't know how you juggle all these things, but
You know, at the end, it's a big team behind. Yeah, this is
yeah,
there are many people here, you know, and very well organized here, and also that's the secret. You know, you need good people. You know, people that uh, are experts. You know, and in that what they're doing, and yeah,
I was
that's.
going to ask how your team's doing. I imagine most of them have gone away now for the weekend because it's late on a Friday.
Yeah, I mean, we are not working on weekend, right? But
Already gone.
no, we are not working. We are not working.
So I guess just on that kind of on that subject, in terms of your team, if you were looking at getting a new young designer in, what would you be looking for in a new young designer, and I guess what kind of advice could you give for someone that's looking to get into car design?
You know, it's as I mentioned before, it's very different. People who are applying, let's say young people who are applying for a car designer job are have also different priorities. You know, sometimes my experience is they're just trying out something. You know, okay, if I'm not a car designer, then I will be, I don't know, something else. Yeah. And as I started, I really wanted to become a car designer. Yeah. So I couldn't pass the test for 3 times. So I said, okay, but still I want to be a car designer. Yeah. And I didn't want to do, I don't know, machine building job, whatever. Yeah. So at the end, I think you really need a passion still. This will probably never change. And you have to be really dedicated to that's what you want to do. Yeah. Because as I said, you have so many chances and possibilities also through the world that we live in, and the internet, that many people believe they can do car design, they can do they only do one sketch and believe, okay, I can do car design, yeah. And but it's much more behind this. Yeah, really, you need a passion. Still, doesn't matter if you own a car or not. Yeah, if you're obviously living in a big city, then probably you don't even need a car. Yeah? But still, passion is always good. For doesn't matter which job. Yeah, this will never probably change. Yeah, and I would say don't give up, even if you maybe, I don't know, there's some difficulties on your way. Yeah, maybe it doesn't work out the first time. Yeah, especially at certain universities. Just try again. Yeah, and just don't give up. And there's always a way. And yeah, have fun and yeah, have passion.
Perfect. I think that's some great advice, and also a good place to end. Thank you so much, Robert, for spending the time to speak to me. Maybe next time I can come and see you in the studio and we can show our audience around a little bit. That would be super.
Yeah.
Fantastic.